You guys know what TED is, you know what TEDx is, and I'm really excited today to tell you about TED's newest educational initiative, TED Ed. I'm going to tell you about how we're making a new form of content, and then I'm going to tell you about the powerful tool that houses that content, and then I'm going to tell you 3 stories about how that tool is being used in the world. TED Ed is an open nomination platform, and what that means is that anyone in this room or anyone around the world can nominate a great educator. And our team goes through those nominations, and if one pops, we work with that educator to record a 3 to 4 minute lesson in audio form. We also work with hundreds of animators from around the world to bring that audio to life. So those 2 creative streams are married, and the final product is a TED Ed original lesson. We have 80 TED Ed lessons to date. They've been viewed over 11 million times, and this is an example of the effect of one of them. This is a teacher named Aaron Reedy. He's a biology teacher in Colorado. He says, 7 years as a teacher, I explained sex determination in the animal kingdom to 1,000 students. 3 days with TED Ed, I've explained it to 13,000. His TED Ed lesson has now been viewed over 850,000 times in over 100 countries around the world. Pretty incredible to see an educator's voice go global. But what do we do with that content once it's made? I'm going to show you a video walkthrough of the TED Ed website. So a TED Ed visitor reaches the home page. These are some of those TED Ed original lessons that you can see, and they can watch them right from the home page. And we arrange these lessons in 2 ways. One is by series. It's meant to be a thematic organizing of content to show that knowledge is in fact interdisciplinary. But we also arrange it by subject so that a teacher who's using the tool can find a video related to what they teach quickly. Now we're going to go into an actual lesson here. This is one by Adam Savage of Mythbusters fame. And so obviously you can watch the lesson, but as you're watching it, you can engage with these learning applications on the side. The first is a quick quiz, and if you get an answer right, it tells you. But if you get an answer wrong, more importantly, it gives you immediate feedback in the form of a video hint. There are open answer questions for deeper thinking, and as well as dig deeper materials, a combination of text and links. But the real power of TED Ed is in this flip this video tool. No learner and no classroom is the same, so we would give the power to basically customize the lesson around the video. You can change the title. You can add context based on the learning objective. You can obviously keep or add new multiple choice questions as well as open answer questions, which I'll show you right here. And then, of course, you can edit the dig deeper materials, and you can also keep or exclude any of those. So when you publish the lesson, this is the key. It's rendered on a new and unique link, and because you're the only person with that link, as you share it, you can track everything that happens to that lesson. You can see who watched it, what questions they got right or wrong, and everything else that happens. But the really powerful thing is that you can use this to create a lesson around any video on YouTube. Here's one on photosynthesis, just randomly searched it, how to do a push-up. These are YouTube search results, and you can create lessons around these videos. If you were a computer science teacher, writing HTML. So the possibility of TED Ed as a tool is as infinite as YouTube itself. So we launched this beta site in late April, and we've had the privilege of analyzing the millions of interactions that have been happening on it since. I'm going to tell you 3 stories about how that flip functionality is being used. The first is how I would have used it when I was a teacher to capitalize on a very sort of whimsical, teachable moment. So it was one day, I was a special education high school teacher, and I was teaching a study skills class, and my students were not paying any attention. The class was completely derailed, and the reason is that the night before, this bomb had dropped in my hometown of Athens, Georgia. A UFO had been seen in the skies, and one of my most gregarious students swore that he was the one who saw it. And so no one was paying any attention, and please note the trusted source emblem on the top of that article. We'll talk more about that in a second. But if TED Ed existed, I would have used it to create a lesson that capitalized on all this attention related to alien life. So this is a video made by Jill Tarter, TED Prize winner, who works for SETI, which tries to measure the odds of intelligent life happening outside of Earth. And I would have flipped this lesson, and here's how I would have done it. First, I would have changed the title so that it related to my class. I would have called it In Athens, and I would have used all caps for dramatic effect. My lesson objective is to actually talk a little bit about the math behind this, but also to question that trusted source badge and media literacy. So I'm going to change the context to something like this. And then I'm going to add a question. Now, this question that I added is meant to make students really think. So if that UFO you guys saw is real, how does it change the Drake equation, which is what that video explores? And so to answer that question, they have to really understand what Jill Tarter's saying about the Drake equation. And lastly, I'm not going to use TED-Ed suggested deeper materials because I want this to be about media literacy. So I'm going to change it to question that article and employ some critical thinking skills. So I published the lesson. You can see that 25 of my students have taken it. And this is what it looks like when they do. As they engage with the lesson, the class roster builds down the left. I can see how many questions they completed. I can see how many they got correct on the first attempt, and the total number of attempts. And if I click into any given students, I can actually see how they got a question wrong. So I'm going to talk to this student about guessing and make sure that they understand why it isn't A or B or D. Another way that the TED-Ed tool is being used is teacher as curator. Now remember, you can flip any video from YouTube, not just TED-Ed lessons. And I'm going to show you an example on a lesson on average speed that one teacher from Massachusetts has created around a video from ESPN.
So let's see what you clocked.
If we could have the volume up.
You hit a high of 15.9. Normally, you're not supposed to accelerate at the end. You're supposed to be decelerating. But how about here? That's you and Tim Tebow. You knew Tebow was going to show up. You knew that. Look at this. That's you against Jacoby Ford. If you keep hanging in there, you'll catch him. That's you with a 3-yard head start against Jacoby Ford.
That's not even close.
Why are they coming to get my friend?
All right?
Like that?
And now we're going to give you 5 yards. Okay? 5 yards with Jacoby Ford. Here he comes. All right, now how about
No,
Terrence
don't
Cody?
do this to me, Mount
Yep,
Cody.
you and Mount.
The big guy still wins. So obviously, you know, your brains are now primed to appreciate the nuances of average speed and everything that it extrapolates from understanding that. And that's what this great teacher did, but he didn't have to make the video. He built the lesson around a video that ESPN had built. And so where does this lesson live now that it's created? And the answer is on a new area of the website called Best Flips. So it's where teachers who are creating lessons, they can nominate those lessons, and TED-Ed gives those lessons exposure for the next teacher or student to come along to the site. The last way that TED-Ed is being used that I'm going to talk about today is this awesome experience where the student assumes the role of teacher. Now it happens in a lot of ways, but I'm going to let an example speak for itself. Please meet Ellen.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm going to show you how to sew a bag by using a sewing machine. It's really simple. To start sewing, you'll need a sewing machine, a pedal, a stool, a right amount of material, a pair of scissors, a pot of pins, and a
template. Bing! So this question stumped myself and my staff and lots of people who have viewed this lesson. But if you were to watch the whole 6-minute video that Ellen created about her passion for sewing, you would know the answer to this. So I encourage you to do that. But the point is that thousands of people have watched this video because Ellen's dad happens to be a writer for Wired UK. And he included a link to Ellen's video in an article that he wrote about TED-Ed. And so I think the important thing, and the thing that we're so excited about, is Ellen took the time with her dad to create this video, to compose the lesson around it, and now her relationship to this knowledge, via being shared with thousands of people, has completely transformed, and I think that's something that will stick with her for the rest of her very, very many years. So, What's next for TED-Ed? I showed you some of the learning applications. These were very basic tools, but we actually plan to develop quite a few. I don't have time to go into each of them, but think of that side material, that sidebar, as an application environment where the opportunity to create as many applications as we can is there. We're going to make best flips. This is the creator of that football video, football lesson. We're going to make best flips officially are now flippable. So basically, Greg here has done a little bit of work for the next teacher who comes along and wants to personalize that lesson for his or her target audience. And then lastly, we're going to create something that allows Ellen to create series and really educate people about all the incredible discoveries she's made about sewing. I want to leave you with this. There's no rule that says education has to happen in a classroom between teachers and students. And I think that probably the best teachers who run the best classrooms those classrooms would look like a microcosm of the real world. And so there are 1,200 people at this TEDx event. There are an average of 6 or 7 TEDx events that happen every day around the world. Phenomenal statistic. What would happen, and this is the question I want to leave you with, what would happen if everyone in here took the time to create a TED-Ed lesson worth sharing? And what would happen if everyone out there took the time to do that? How would it transform global education? Now, I don't know the answer to that, but my staff is really excited to work towards discovering what that answer means. And I think that the next teacher or student that participates in TED-Ed will be too. Thank you.